All right, we're here for episode 142 of the 4Ever2Wheels podcast. I'm here with Charlie Weisel.
Weisel, yeah.
Weisel. I was close.
Close enough.
And what's funny is that you were actually on episode like 138 or something as well.
Right. Yep.
You were my last long form interview, but when I started to think about relaunching this and do in the new format and talking about people and their best rides, I immediately thought of you because you've been on so many rides. I mean, how many miles do you think you put on? Well, how many miles did you put on last year?
25,000 probably, 20 something thousand.
Yeah.
Didn't really keep track, but I'm sure it's probably up in there somewhere.
Yeah. And you, why don't you tell people what you do, introduce yourself, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm, like Ken said, I'm Charlie. I do electrical work for a living. That's what I do to actually pay the bills. Other than that, I just travel. I write for Cycle Source magazine, contribute for Chop Cold, and do podcasts like this one with Ken.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
And you ride that enormous bike behind you.
I do, yeah.
How long is it?
Just over 10 feet.
Just over 10 feet long. So 10 foot long, twin cam, unsuspended chopper is where you put on most of your miles.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, the thing, we have a couple trails in common. We have a couple things in common, which is I'm not afraid to ride in the weather. You're not afraid to ride in the weather.
Nope.
And when did you figure that out?
Oh, years ago. I don't know. There's really nothing about it that bothers me. In fact, it's part of me kind of almost enjoys it. I don't know why, but I think just the challenge of it maybe kind of does it for me. And there's just something about like going underneath an overpass in a torrential downpour, and there's 20 other people hiding out underneath it, and you just barrel on through. I don't know. It's just something about that. Just be like, yeah, I did it. It was fun.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, the more adverse the conditions, the more I seem to enjoy it for some reason.
Yeah. Well, and the right gear.
The right gear definitely helps, yeah.
That makes it a lot more tolerable for sure.
Yeah.
Where it makes it so it's not, it's a lot more Zen-like to me. It's very like meditative when you're just in like a torrential downpour and you're like, I could hydroplane. Like it's coming down enough, like.
Yeah.
And you're just,
your visor's soaking wet and you can't see anything. You're just like, okay, we're just trying to keep it between the lines here.
Yep. And just focused. And then you get on the other side of it and you're like, all right, that was interesting. That was a thing.
Yeah. 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 There's always that feeling of satisfaction. Like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
Cool.
For sure. So one of the things that I did want to talk to you about is Burr Trail. You and I both did the Burr Trail.
On the wrong bike.
Yeah, both on the wrong bikes for sure. And I think that's a really. So why don't you tell people what the Burr Trail is? Yeah,
so the Burr Trail, basically, primarily it's a dirt road. They call it a trail. I don't really necessarily know why. There's parts of it that definitely do feel like a trail, but it's a dirt road that goes all the way across Utah. There's one particular section called the Burr Trail Switchbacks. Yeah. And I think you kind of like me, that is the highlight of that road, or the switchbacks.
For sure.
The view, that's where you get the challenge, and everything. And so I was headed down to this party out in the desert out by Kingman, Arizona. And I was looking on the map, and I was thinking, like, man, I could really easily work this into my route. So, I found this route that's primarily paved, and then I found this offshoot road that I could see on the map would take me straight to the base of the switchbacks where I wanted to go.
The base of the base of the switchback, so the bottom.
Right. So I started at the bottom and went up.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I found this road, and I knew this road was going to turn to dirt. But in my mind, I was like, it'll be like a hard-packed, graded dirt road. Or at least I was hoping for that until I got to the switchback. And then the switchback would be the challenging part.
Sure.
Turned out I was totally off base on that. In fact, it was almost flip-flopped a little bit.
Yeah.
It turned out it was like 25 miles of some of the gnarliest roads I've ever seen.
Totally.
To the point where, you're like kind of having to stop and find your route through these ruts and mud holes.
Yeah, it's like a 2-track. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. There were sections where I was in neutral, kind of rolling with both feet, trying to keep the bike upright.
Sure.
There's kind of these uphill scramble sections where you're just full throttle and just white knuckling and hope you get to the top. And thinking, man, I really brought the wrong vehicle for this.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I mean, that was like 20, 25 or 26 miles just on that stretch before I even got to the switchback. That took like 2 hours to get down it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then the switchback themselves, which is a whole different, slew of challenges.
Yeah, because they're pretty tight.
Yeah, they're real tight.
They're not meant for a 10-foot long chopper, that's for sure.
No, I did okay on all of them except for one, which I almost tragically messed up my navigation through it.
Yeah.
I basically started coming around it, and what I've been doing was just kind of coming around it, hit the throttle, try to whip that back wheel out a little bit, try to get it back straight. And, meanwhile, foot clutching, hand shifting. I mean, I got everything going against me. So I come around this one particular switchback that was just, super tight, super steep. I'm sure you can picture it.
Yeah.
And I came around this thing, and I, at the last second, tried to get from second down into first. And I forget exactly what happened, but long story short, I ended up oversteering. So basically going back kind of like downhill almost. Well, I was about to go downhill. I had to go off the edge.
Sure.
And basically ended up, I got it into first, foot came off the clutch. And then immediately I was kind of out of control, just hanging on to the thing, was locked up the front wheel. And of course on this thing, locking up the front wheel, it doesn't do anything, you're sliding.
Yeah.
And that front wheel got within inches of going off that edge.
Oh.
Brought the thing to a stop, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay, so now I'm stuck in gear, going straight uphill. All right, now I got to figure out how to get this thing into neutral. So I kind of rocked the bike, get into neutral, and then I started rolling back because I had to straighten myself up to get a straight shot up the hill.
Sure.
So I started rolling back, grabbed a handful of front brake, and now I'm just sliding out of control backwards. Now I'm sliding barely back into the radius of this switchback, and finally kind of come to a stopping point. I stand down, take a few deep breaths.
Totally.
Put it back into first and lined her up straight up the hill.
It's so gnarly. And for people, hopefully, so I'll put some pictures of the Burr Trail, the switchbacks and everything up, and any pictures that you have, we'll put it up when we post this on YouTube. But for people that haven't, just on a motorcycle in general, riding that is super gnarly, and I was on a 800-pound bagger, and you're on a 10-foot long chopper, completely the wrong machines for it. I rattled out every bolt in the entire fairing, of the bike that I was riding. It was a mess, for sure.
Yeah, sure was fun though,
Oh yeah, it was a great. It was an adventure, definitely. It was an adventure. Yeah. So, part of the, so the format of the show is I want to hear about your best ride. And I'm sure that's really hard for you to qualify, because you've done some pretty epic adventures. But is there one that immediately comes to mind?
Man, that is a hard question. And I get asked that a lot. And it is just so hard. It's so hard to nail down I'd say like in the last year, probably the most fun, I'd say, just flat out adventure was when I did that 1,000-mile race against Bob. When
Cool.
we raced out to the Oregon coast. That was just a hoot. I mean, just flat out as fast as you could go for 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call it like adventuresome as far as like cool roads and stuff like that goes, but
yeah.
And it was a lot of fun though.
Well, and what did you do to prepare for that? Because I mean, obviously, you must have had a bigger tank, right? Or did you have an auxiliary tank?
Yeah, I ran out of the 5-gallon auxiliary tank on the back, so I had 9.8 gallons of fuel.
Whoa! And could you actually ride for Could you actually ride for that entire time without stopping?
Yeah. In the 1,000 miles, I only stopped 3 times.
Wow.
So, and even that was, like a 3-minute gas stop.
Yeah.
And then get back on the gas, and then you run the tank dry for 350 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you win?
Yeah, I did.
And what was he riding?
He was riding I think it's a Kawasaki police bike that he had strutted. So it was a hardtail. I don't know if I call it a chopper necessarily, but definitely hardtail, and no windshield or anything like that. Pretty stripped down.
Cool.
But yeah.
What was the premise of it? Like, how did that even come about?
He basically called me out of the blue one day and was like, "Hey, do you want to race?" And of course, racing's right up my alley. I'm like, "Yeah, anything competitive." I'm like, "Absolutely, let's do it." so and basically also anything involving big miles on a motorcycle. Like everything about this is right up my alley.
Yeah.
So we got talking about it, and we got Ride 1K in a Day. Kind of pulled into it. Curtis, I don't know if you know Ride 1K in a Day.
Yeah. Only through you. You're the one who introduced me to it, but yeah.
Yeah. So we did it kind of based around that, basically. So we were both going to do a 1,000-mile day and then race to the finishing point, which is at the Oregon run in Coos Bay, Oregon, I think.
Oh, nice. Beautiful there. Yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous. So I started in Salt Lake City. He started basically at his house in California. And then our routes converged in Reno.
Oh, okay.
So we had different routes coming up to Reno, and then on the same route from there. So basically, the second half of that 1,000 miles was on the same half. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty fun.
That's awesome. So overall, how long have you been riding motorcycles?
13, 14 years.
Okay. So best ride you've ever done?
Kayla and I, when we were in Europe, we were coming through Austria, and I remember being on this one particular road where it seemed like everything was clicking for both of us. Mm-hmm. And the road was pristine. It was like a buttery smooth road, not a pothole for miles. Just perfect sweeping bends. Incredible postcard views everywhere, and we were just riding, just right with each other perfectly, and everything was totally in sync. The weather was perfect, and you're, coming through the Austrian Alps.
Yeah.
And you're coming through all these little villages, and everything's so picturesque and perfect. Just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that's right up there.
Cool. So set the scene for that. Tell people how you got to Europe and what you guys rode when you got there.
Yeah, well, we rode our bikes. So I was riding my chopper. Kayla was on her bike, which at the time was actually a Dyna. And we shipped them over on a ship, and we went with them on the same container ship. And so we left Wilmington, North Carolina, and 11 days later, we ended up in Antwerp, Belgium. And then we, about a week later, got the bikes off the ship and hit the road.
That's pretty cool. Probably unheard of these days. No, nobody's doing that these days.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely still do it if you wanted to.
Sure.
I don't necessarily know if I'd recommend it. You better make damn sure you've got a sea leg.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
But
Well, so let's talk about that day in Austria. Like, how did it start off?
Well, it started out, like most mornings out there, it's waking up in a tent in a campground somewhere. We'd open up our map and start finding the roads and routes. And, we didn't have any, like, real clear destinations really throughout any of that trip.
Sure.
So we just start finding the roads that look cool on a map. And, of course, on a map, you have no idea. It's just a squiggly line.
Yeah.
But, usually the squigglier the better, right?
Yeah.
So we were just finding these little roads, and we just say, hey, let's take this route and end up here.
Yeah.
And
Do you remember what town you started in?
No, I'd have to pull Kayla into this conversation. I'm sure she knows all that stuff, but
Yeah.
Cool. I'm terrible about remember that stuff.
Yeah. I know. I can't even remember what I did yesterday.
Yeah, and they were all small towns. We weren't staying in cities.
Yeah.
That whole trip, I think we only stayed in 3 major cities.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's small villages and campgrounds.
So do they have campgrounds there? Were you in an actual campground, or do you just camp on the side of the road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's campgrounds all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're easy to find. They're really nice. And there's something to be said for sleeping on the side of the road, and I think it kind of has this sort of romanticism to it. Like,
Sure.
Hit the open road, or we're just gonna sleep wherever, and all this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, man, I'm like, yeah, but the reality is, like, for $10, I can sleep in a campground where I've got bathroom, maybe a shower,
Yeah.
picnic table, like some like small little creature comforts,
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of make all the difference, especially after a really long day,
Totally. I mean, not to say that I haven't slept in a rest area, but
yeah,
it's like
it's a real different. It's a real different vibe for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's not comfortable.
No, it's not. It's
like
just
you do it when you
have to.
really need sleep.
Yeah.
When you have to.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, it's not fun to sleep in a parking lot next to your bike.
No, not particularly.
No.
But I think part of it, I think it's an important like rite of passage for people, in my opinion. Like, I think everybody should do it. Everybody that rides a motorcycle and that plans on like traveling on it,
Mm-hmm.
you should, pack as little shit as you possibly can and go for a couple days anywhere and just sleep on the side of the road, see what happens, ride until you feel like pulling over.
Yeah. It's good to know that you can. Like,
yeah, totally.
If things get bad enough, like, that option is always there.
Yeah.
I
did that.
If nothing else, it sort of builds confidence for people out on the road. Because I think that's where people struggle with all this, is the confidence level.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get nervous, or like, well, what if something happens? What if I can't find somewhere to sleep? What if this, that, and the other? And it's just like, well, it's like, no, like, you just have to get out there and do it. Everything will work out. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So you sleep in a parking lot, who cares?
Yep. Well, and I think that's the thing with putting on big miles too. I think that there's a real aversion for some people to put on a lot of miles in a day. And really anybody that rides a motorcycle can do it. Like, I'm convinced.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a mind over matter thing for sure.
It is.
And it somewhat depends on the bike, but I've done it on some pretty interesting machines. I've put on some pretty serious miles in a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they're and it's always different,
I think a lot of that too. I think a lot of it is also how the bike is set up for you and as an individual.
Yeah.
I think you can take almost any motorcycle, and as long as you set it for yourself, get it to fit correctly, get the handlebar position right, find a seat that works for you. It's like, I don't really think it matters if the bike has suspension or all the suspension in the world. It's like, if it's not set up for you, it's not going to be comfortable.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and I think that's one of the things that people probably say about like riding a chopper. They're like, "Oh, how can you do that?" And it's like, you built it for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, it's
and I've got you put enough miles on something, your body just kind of gets used to it, and it's just second nature. Yeah,
exactly. You do have another bike though, which is more of a novelty because I don't think you really ride it that much, do you?
No, so you're next to me, actually. Yeah, man, and that's actually a great example. Like you're having this other motorcycle with fairings and windshields and world-class suspension.
Yeah.
And 20 miles into a ride, my back is killing me.
Really?
You know, I get on my chopper and I can ride for 3 days straight. My back doesn't hurt a bit.
Yeah.
It's just all that seating position, getting used to it, getting comfortable on it, and that's really what it comes down to.
Sure. Yeah, I've definitely had some bikes that I've liked performance-wise that just destroyed my body. That I'm just like, oh, this is not made for me. You know?
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then I've had other ones that are like, don't seem like, you know, like my custom bike, I'm like, it just fits me, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you ride it, you're like,
yeah, it works.
You become a part of it. So back to Austria. So you have breakfast that morning. You decide where you're going to go, and how do you decide who's going to lead? You know, there's no weather. So, you know, what do you like first thing in the morning? Are you like, do you get all bundled up, or are you like, the least amount of clothes possible? Like, I'm going to get out there and feel the wind.
No, I tend to overdress. Well, first off, I tend to wear the same thing.
Yeah.
If I'm going for a ride of any substance, I tend to wear the same thing.
What do you wear?
Through all weather. Usually like a thermal base layer, and then my Aero Stitch over the top of that, which is the one-piece Gore-Tex suit. And then if it's actually cold, you know, I'll put on some derby and heated gear underneath that. And if it's really, really cold, I'll put like an REI puffy coat in between the Gore-Tex and the heated gear.
Sure.
And then I'm down to like 0 degrees at that point.
Yeah.
But you know, with that Aero Stitch and a thermal base layer, like, man, you're good from, you know, good down to about 40 degrees and get up, you know, to 100.
Yeah.
Pretty wide range, and it's already waterproof. So if it rains, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
My packing list for clothing on trips is pretty minimal. It's pretty much what I wear on the bike, and then a pair of jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's about it. So it's kind of a nice thing with having specific riding gear is that you're not trashing jeans every week, and you don't have to carry tons of clothes.
Yep, that's true.
You're not carrying rain gear. You're not carrying tons of layers. Just kind of one outfit and go.
So in the morning, are you the guy who like checks over your bike and makes sure that, you know, your freaking wheel's not going to fall off or anything?
No.
I don't know anybody really like that.
I'm really bad about that. I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Once every few months, I'll check my oil and add a quart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, mechanics get really mad at me. You know, Ryan and I built that bike, and I didn't check. I've got a Sproder on it, and they're notorious for backing out because you're putting that opposite action on it, right? Like it's braking, and then that's like and then it's stopping it, and so it can basically just like undo the bolts. And and I didn't look down, and the next thing I knew, my freaking wheel, you know, my Sproder came off, and there's shit everywhere, and things are, it wasn't great. He's like, what the fuck, man? It's a custom bike. You got to check that stuff. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, if I were if I were on a newly built chopper, then I would maybe be a little more like conscious of that stuff. But like on my bike, everything's so frozen in place anyway. Like you couldn't break a bolt loose hardly if you tried. It's probably gonna break off. Like everything you see is on at this point. So,
you did blow up the drivetrain this year, though, didn't you? Didn't you blow up the engine after how many thousands of miles?
Yeah, 215,000, I think, is where I'm at now.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Did you end up buying a new engine?
No.
Just rebuilt it.
No, the motor's fine. I mean, it's super flapped out right now, and it definitely needs an engine rebuild, like something serious right now.
Yeah.
But I just keep running it. I don't know. I don't want to take it apart yet. That's why I keep riding it. But it definitely needs an engine rebuild, big time. Now it's my electrical system that I was fighting all year.
Oh, that's what it was. That's right.
Yeah, it's basically all like last summer coming into this past winter. It was just fighting electrical gremlins, just one after another. Like, you know, the bike caught on fire in Seattle at one point. It was really bad. It was really bad. I almost burnt down Kayla's uncle's house. Her cousin's house.
Oh, geez.
I mean, not like, I didn't actually catch the house on fire, but it definitely ignited in his garage, which was terrifying.
What'd you do to put it out?
Just started patting it out, and it just went out. I don't know.
Wow.
Kind of like burst into flames. I started patting on it, yelling, and I think the yelling put it out. I don't know. Probably the sweat coming off my forehead and put it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then so left me stranded in Seattle. Had to come home in a U-Haul. It left me stranded in St. George, Utah, and ended up coming home in U-Haul because I grenaded my entire electrical system. Like literally everything. I mean, all the way down to my GPS mount, roasted everything.
Wow.
So it's finally after that trip where I was just like, man, something's got to give.
And you're an electrician. That's the funny part.
That's the irony of it. Yeah.
Right? Like that's not the thing that should be going wrong, buddy.
No, but it's not a house. I wire houses, It's like the shoe cobbler's kid syndrome, The
exactly.
Kid always has bare feet. But what it was just years, like 200,000 miles of roadside repairs that never got really repaired when I got home.
Yeah.
I do a roadside repair, and then it would just stay forever.
Sure.
And then I would do another one.
You're like, oh, that worked, and then they just add up.
It worked. Yeah, I mean, like I remember one time sitting on the side of the road in Seattle, I kept blowing fuses, couldn't figure out why for the life of me, until finally I was out of fuses. Like I kept like pulling fuses out of my fuse block. I was like, well, I guess I'll use my lighting circuit fuse for my ignition circuit so the bike actually runs.
Sure.
So then I went on light. And I kept doing that until pretty soon I was just out of fuses.
Yeah.
And which was the lazy way of doing it. What I really should have done was found the problem. But, there was no time for that. So I ended up just cutting the fuse block off and then just hardwired everything straight through. And then I ran it like that for like another 2 years. I never blew a fuse again. So cool.
Yeah, you didn't.
So finally, this past winter, I finally forced myself to come out of the garage and just rip every inch of wire off the bike and just start over.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a daunting thing for a twin cam,
Especially for a twin cam. That's what I was gonna say. There's so many goddamn wires in there. Yeah,
and I even streamlined it down as much as I could. I mean, I got down to the bare minimum, but there's still like 4,000 feet of wire.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, well, do I really need a bank angle sensor? Do I really need this? I really need that? No. Cut it.
Yeah.
So I got it down to, bare bones just to make the bike run.
Yeah.
But even that, there's still a lot.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I will commend you on is that it's electric start, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
A kickstart.
Yeah, dude. I'm like still like going, it's 10 years later, right? But I'm like, God, if I was just a little bit smarter, I would have made that thing an electric and kickstart.
Yeah, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, kind of, because
and then you make a kickstart kit for a twin cam.
Yeah.
And I thought about putting it on as a backup, like just in case,
Sure.
And I'm like, man, am I really gonna? Why wouldn't I just park on top of a hill?
Yeah.
I'll start it.
Yeah.
Am I really gonna try to kick over the twin cam?
Yeah. Is it an 88 or a 96?
It was an 88. Now it's a 95.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, kicking over, I think mine's an 80, and just kicking that over sucks. Like
Totally.
yeah, it's not, it's hard, you know, it's a lot of work.
I don't work out. I don't go to the gym. I don't kick the thing over.
So
yeah, so I always just rely on bump starting. If you're having starting trouble, just park on top of the hill.
yeah, yeah. So back to Austria. So how stoked were people to see you guys riding those bikes out there?
Pretty stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of people coming over. You know, it was the bikes that would kind of draw them in at first, but then what would really blow their minds is when they looked at our license plates, and you could see the wheels turning in their heads, like, wait, Colorado?
What?
Wait, is that the United States?
Yeah.
And then you could see their ears start smoking a little, like they just couldn't believe it. You know, then we brought these bikes over from the U.S. So I think it's more common. And it's just within the last couple months. Have you heard of Evil Monkey magazine?
No.
They're out of the Norway, I think.
Okay.
Well, she had reached out a few months back and had asked me to write an article about that particular trip, actually, and the thing she said is that it's more common to hear about Europeans shipping bikes to the U.S.
Totally.
But you know, for them, they don't often see it the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she was really intrigued by it, and that was kind of the vibe that we were getting from most people that we met out there.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's always really cool because it's always a neat way to meet the locals too. People start coming over, and next thing you know, they're offering you a place to stay and just want to hear about what you're doing, and conversation starts to go, and you start to learn more about the area, and then it makes the whole trip more, that much more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've had that both. Riding motorcycles and hitchhiking. I did a lot of hitchhiking when I was younger, and it's like you end up learning so much more about the places you go through when people are just like picking you up every 20 miles or whatever,
Right,
it's also super sketchy.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's also super sketchy. So where did you end up that day? Do you remember? You went, and were you just like in the Alps somewhere?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It would have had to have been either that day or maybe the following day or two that we would have ended up in Germany, because we were kind of starting to head back north at that point.
Okay.
So I would say Germany would have been enough, if not that day, then the next.
Yeah. Cool. And then what's a ride that you want to do that you haven't done yet?
It's one that we have coming up.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we have a ride planned, leaving in December. Which will be the middle of winter here. So we'll basically just be kind of looking for a nice little weather window to start heading south. And our plan is to ride from our house here in Colorado down to the southernmost tip of South America.
Nice.
And then turn around, come back.
Nice.
So, because we've done a little bit of riding in Mexico, but I've never been south of Mexico. So,
do you know anybody who's done that trip?
Not firsthand. No.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, I've definitely gone down the rabbit hole of looking at, people's blogs, people who've done it, of course, people's pages on Instagram, forums on these like adventure bike forums, because it's all, adventure bike riders primarily.
Sure. Yeah. But you're riding your chopper.
Yeah.
And Kayla's riding her bobber. She's
on the fence.
Yeah.
She's been going back and forth between taking her new chopper versus taking her Africa Twin, the Honda.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's just kind of prepare both bikes.
Yeah.
And then see what the mood is like that day.
Cool.
So, but
seems like a good way to go. Well, a guy that I rode with on the Why We Ride, him and his dad went and rode down there, Matt Swedland.
Okay.
I'll connect you guys on Instagram. But you can see he did a bunch of riding. I don't know I can't remember where they started. They didn't start in the US, I can tell you that for sure. But they ended up in Patagonia somewhere.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think, which was the southernmost tip, I believe, right?
Yeah, Patagonia. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's way south in Argentina.
Yeah.
Ushuaia is the name of the town. That's the southernmost town in Argentina, which is where, everybody kind of makes, the destination, and you always kind of go through Patagonia all the way down there. And in fact, Patagonia for me is going to be the highlight. I mean, that's where I've been wanting to go.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else in between, I have no doubt will be incredible.
Sure.
But in my mind, like, that's where I want to get, is Patagonia.
That's killer.
And the Bolivian Death Road.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember that woman's name, but she just rode a Scout 66, like through the drug running roads of, it was in Cycle World, I think, magazine. It was a cool, like 3-part article.
Okay.
And she said the roads are amazing because they're so good because they run so many drugs through there that the drug dealers just pay for them.
No kidding.
They're like buttery smooth. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some killer pictures and stuff. I'll try to see if I can find that article for you too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I know. Because it's always so hard to like keep track, I was like, I keep telling myself, like, I need to start writing down these roads, the road names.
Sure.
In journals, so I can, so when it comes time, we're actually down there, and I can open up a journal and be like, okay, Bolivia, what's the name of that road? Because there's so many of them. How do you even keep track of which ones I should be looking for,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I wonder if, what's that map? There's a motorcycle map company.
Butler?
Yeah. Butler. I wonder if they've got to have some forums about like riding down there. They've got some great, I mean, I've used their maps in the Western United States when I've been in states that I've never traveled in before. And I'm like, holy shit. Like they've got some in California that they've marked that I'm like, that I've ridden. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a top 5 ride of my entire life, in terms of roads.
Yeah, they are a good company. It'd be cool if they started doing international stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of just, domestic. But
yeah. And maybe they will. Who knows?
Yeah.
Cool stuff. They're like based out of like Vail.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. They're out of Vail.
Okay.
What's the one thing that you would tell somebody who maybe they haven't gone on a long ride before? Maybe they've never been, maybe they've had a motorcycle for a long time, or maybe, maybe they're just a new rider. What are some of the things that you think are like a hot tip for them in terms of riding long distance, or riding like even overnight?
Yeah. God. Man, this is going to sound super cheesy, but the first thing that popped into my head was just have faith in humanity, And the reason why I say that is because it's kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, is that I think what really keeps people from doing it is the fear of the unknown of like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Blah, blah, blah. And from my experience, no matter how bad the situation is, there's always a way out. And inevitably, right when you think there are no options, someone's going to show up and pull up next to you in the car and say, hey, what do you need? And say, oh, my battery took a crap. I'm not in the middle of nowhere. My cell phone doesn't work. I don't know anybody. I'm 400 miles, 500 miles from home. And they're going to say, oh, my cousin down the road, he's in a motorcycle. I bet he's got a spare battery. Next thing you know, half an hour later, you got a brand new battery. You're taking off down the road. Yep. And I think that's, I think once people get past that hurdle of the fear of the unknown, it just makes everything so much easier.
And it happens more often than not. Like, it's crazy when I think about the trips that I've been on with, kind of like questionable motorcycles, or even good ones, right? And something's happened. And inevitably, like, things get taken care of, like,
They do. Yeah.
and I guess that's why you and I are still, sitting, on the earth, like, I guess for the people it doesn't work out for,
Right.
whoops. But yeah, I think that's a great point, because there are a lot of people out there that really are like naturally curious, want to like help people out. Motorcycles are a great like crossover, like conversation starter. And I think I think you're right. That's a really good, really, really good way of putting it, for sure.
Yeah. And I think, to answer your question in a little less heady of a way, getting down to the actual logistics of it.
Sure.
And I would tell people to start small.
Yeah.
Find a state park or national park or just some interesting place that's maybe 100 miles from home. It doesn't have to be huge. It has to be 50 miles from home if that's what you're comfortable doing. Pack your bike up, take all your stuff with you, and just ride that 50 miles. Set up camp, hang out for the night, come back home. Chances are everything was probably fine.
Yeah.
Next weekend, expand it a little bit. Maybe go 100 miles, 200 miles. And I think for most people, I think once they got through 2 or 3 of those, they would pretty quickly realize that, oh man, everything's fine. What was I worrying about?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and that's one of the things is like, it doesn't need to be this big trip. I always have it in my mind, like, oh, I've got to have these like epic adventures. And it's like, you had such a good example this weekend of just like going to Pawnee National Grasslands. That's like 50 miles from me. Maybe it's 70 from you or something.
Yeah. I mean, I woke up, packed up my tent, loaded my bike, and I was home before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good example because, we left the house without, we did have a destination in mind. We were planning on going to this park up in Nebraska. But even then, it was only 170 miles away, even then.
Yeah.
So we thought, it's like, we have all day. Let's make this as interesting as we can.
Sure.
So we decided to try to take as much dirt roads up there as we could. So we ended up doing about 100 miles of dirt roads before, kind of petered out a little bit. And then we were within probably 50 miles of the park that we were headed towards. And we were starting to get real mixed reviews about whether or not the park had reopened. And so based on the time of the afternoon, the time it would take to get up there, discover that it was closed, then come back all the way down to Pawnee National Grasslands where we knew we'd get to camp for sure. We're like, man, that's like 4 more hours. It's like, I don't really want to roll up the campground in the dark,
Yeah.
So that's why we bailed on it and said, screw it, let's just go back down to Pawnee. And then you're right, at that point, I mean, for me, it's like 70, 80 miles from home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were really close. It was just leave Saturday morning, make an adventure out of it. I was home Sunday morning.
Yeah.
It's super quick.
Yeah, and it's an adventure. It's totally like it's a great reset. From being in Boulder and doing your day to day and everything that goes along with that. So super cool.
Yeah. So I tell people that.
Right on. Yeah, for sure. That's great advice. Right on, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and spending the time to talk about your travels and adventures and everything that goes along with that. I'll put up what the name of the town and the route that you were thinking about. And I'll let people know. And then how do people get a hold of you? What's a good place to follow you on? Are you on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff?
Yeah, I'd say Instagram is probably the best.
Okay.
Instagram handle Traveling Chopper.
Okay.
Pretty good line.
Cool.
I am on Facebook, Charlie Weisel, but I'm not real active on there.
Yeah. And then you and your wife have a blog. Yeah. You've got a blog and a book.
Yeah. We do. We have our book, Roadtrips for Journeys, which talks about our trip to Europe.
Yep. And I still need to come and get my autographed copy. It's sitting at your house.
It is. Just waiting for you.
I know. I'm like, I'll just come down and get it. That was 6 months ago.
Yeah, well, I could probably bring it up to you too. So. But yeah, check out roadtripsforjourneys.com. It's the website we started. It's not 100% motorcycle focused, but it is travel focused for sure. And what we're trying to do is bring in people from all over the world who are just doing these really neat trips and doing really cool stuff, and get them to write articles about it and submit the photos, and then we put it up on the website in a blog format. And just getting some really neat stuff, you know. One of the last ones was a girl named Audrey who did a long trip over Mongolia. I mean, not even remotely motorcycle oriented at all.
Yeah.
So the Incredibles the photos are incredible. The story is great, and so that's kind of what we're trying to do, is just make it a travel focused website and blog, and get away from the motorcycle specific.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I've got my friend Andre Breton. He just rode his bicycle from Scotland to Turkey last summer in 56 days. Yeah.
Holy cow. And see, that would be a great story.
And his his website is killer. You should check it out. I'll send you the link to that as well. It's and because he's got so much, he documented it so well. And there's some great information there, some really cool stuff. So he went through Serbia and Bosnia and like places you're not supposed to ride a bicycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
But really cool stuff. So I'll get you guys hooked up. I really appreciate you coming on, man. Roads Are for Journeys. Awesome. Traveling Chopper. Follow him on Instagram. And we will see you next week. And I'm gonna when we get this posted up, I'm gonna give you a little time, but when I get it posted up, I'm gonna ask you to repost it and then let me know who I should interview. Because I'm sure you've got some people that are, motorcycle people that I don't know, that you think might be a good fit for getting them on here and talking about, their favorite trip. So.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much.
Right on. Yeah. Thank you.
See you later. All right.
Okay. Bye.